No one in the galaxy noticed it at first. It came slowly, without sound, through the deep edges of unclaimed space. There were no transmissions, no beacons, no signals. Just a dark object, slowly moving past forgotten stars, across regions no one dared patrol anymore. But one day, a routine mining satellite near the neutral zone caught something strange. An object larger than a moon had entered Sector V79. The satellite tried to scan it but failed. Every scan bounced back, unreadable. The AI system logged the object as unknown Titan. Then, it crashed. Within hours, the news reached the Galactic Council on Velmora Prime. There were no images, no clear data, just one eerie report from the broken satellite. It looked back at us. The Council dismissed it at first. Space was full of old machines, ancient relics from forgotten empires. Probably a dead ship or asteroid with cloaking tech. But still, something felt wrong, and when the object began changing course directly, heading toward a central trade route, they started to worry that an emergency meeting was called. Inside the Golden Hall of the Star Council, representatives of 37 species gathered. Some looked like scaled serpents, others like floating jelly orbs, tall, short, armored, soft skin. They all shared one expression, tension. High Lord Revax of the Talari spoke first. This is likely a remnant class wreckage, the kind left behind by fallen warlords. We should destroy it before it reaches populated systems. But it's not attacking, said Grand Seer Olvi of the Caloran. It hasn't responded, hasn't moved aggressively. Perhaps it's a dormant AI relic. Then, the youngest representative stood, a thin being with silver skin and glowing eyes. It might be worse, she said. It might be human. The entire hall fell into silence. For centuries, the word human had become a ghost in galactic history. Some believed they never existed, others believed they were a story to scare younglings. But those who ruled, the ones who had erased records, knew the truth. Humans had once reached for the stars. They built fast ships, dangerous weapons, and asked questions no one dared ask. But 300 years ago, they vanished after the solar purge. Earth was poisoned, its systems shut down, its satellites erased. The Council declared them extinct. Yet now, a ship had appeared. Unknown tech, silent, massive, and worst of all, shaped like the old Terran dreadnoughts, the kind that vanished during the last war. Lord Revax rose again. If this is a human ship, we cannot wait. We must erase it before others see it. Before memory returns, some protested. Some feared a repeat of the past. But in the end, fear won. The vote was cast. The unknown object was to be destroyed. 3 fleets were assembled, the Varnok battle cruisers, the Caloran Lightfire class, and the Yovain void ships together. They created a force large enough to obliterate moons. They were sent toward the object now approaching neutral space. From a distance they watched it. The ship was terrifying. No lights, no colors, no flags, just dark, brutal armor, long weapons aligned across its sides, an engine core that hummed with quiet power, a front design shaped like a wolf's skull. The admirals opened communications. This is Council Fleet Alpha. You are in restricted space. Identify. No reply. They tried again. Still no reply. Then, the ship did something strange. It rotated slowly, just slightly, like it had noticed them, like it was curious. The fleet commanders exchanged nervous glances. The ship's lack of response was an act of defiance. Fire a warning shot, Admiral Julo said. A single plasma beam raced toward the ship, and vanished mid-air, like it had been swallowed. Everyone froze. Then something happened that made every species tremble. A voice appeared on all channels, deep, human, and cold. You started this. It was unmistakably English, an ancient Earth language. No one had heard it spoken in centuries. Seconds later, the unknown ship powered up. Its outer hull shifted, armor plates expanding like claws. Weapons activated but didn't fire. Instead, it sent out a pulse. A deep, vibrating wave passed through the fleet. Not an attack but a scan. It was looking at them, measuring. Then, the lights inside the ship glowed red. Back on Velmora Prime, the Council received a visual feed from a scout drone. Everyone stood as the image appeared on the grand holoscreen. Giant black battleship hovered above a ringed planet. The words painted in white on its side were now visible. Vengeance 1 TSN Darnell Reeve, a forgotten name, a forgotten class, Terran Star Navy. Darnell Reeve had been one of Earth's last fleet captains before the solar purge. He had been declared KIA impossible, whispered Seer Olvi. He should be dust. Council panic broke out. Debates, shouting, fear. If this ship had survived, were there more? They couldn't allow this. Not now. Not after so long. If we don't destroy it now, Lord Revax warned, it will tell the galaxy what we did. About Earth, about the Purge, and that could not be allowed. Meanwhile, the ship began to move again, but not toward any world. It moved toward a council memory station, a secret vault holding thousands of years of galactic history. Inside that vault were redacted human records. Why is it going there? Admiral Julo asked. Then the voice returned. You erased us. We remember you. All over the galaxy, news spread. Traders, pirates, smugglers all picked up pieces of the transmission. One word kept repeating, human. People began asking questions. Species once told that Earth was myth, now wondered, had they been lied to? On the outer colonies, murals of forgotten Terran heroes began to appear. People whispered the name Darnell Reeve, like a legend returning from the grave. The Council doubled their forces. They placed a bounty on the ship. Anyone who could destroy or board it would be rewarded with a planet's worth of wealth. But no one dared approach. One ship did. A mercenary fleet of 20 hired hunters. They moved fast, cloaked, and deadly. They fired everything they had. The result? Nothing. The human ship remained still. And then, without a sound, it sent out an EMP burst so strong that all 20 ships lost power, drifted, and floated helplessly in silence. Then came the voice again. We were forgotten, but we never forgot. On Velmora Prime, the Council realized they had made a mistake. It wasn't just a battleship. It was a reminder, a relic, that had survived betrayal, death, and silence. A ghost from humanity's darkest hour. And now, it was awake. The question was no longer how to stop it. The question was what else is coming with it. And if this ship survived the Purge, was Earth truly dead? Or was something else, something even bigger on its way? The Star Council was shaking because, deep down, in every corner of their minds, one cold truth settled in like a storm. Humanity was back, and this time, it remembered everything. The Vengeance One hovered near the Galactic Memory Station in silence still, and watching. Admiral Julo of the Caloran fleet stared at the glowing screen in his warship's command center. The Terran ship was less than 200,000 kilometers away. It hadn't fired, hadn't even moved since its last broadcast. Still, it felt like it was waiting. He hated that. We should strike now, Julo said through gritted teeth, before it does something. Beside him, fleet strategist Zahn hesitated. Sir, that ship just disabled 20 Hunter-class destroyers with a single pulse. We still don't know what we're facing. We know enough, Julo snapped. It's human. That's all we need to know. His claws tapped the console. Orders were sent to the other ships in formation. Prepare fire. All fleets. Target that thing now. Across space, lights began to appear. Dozens of battleships, cruisers, and firecraft formed an arc above the Vengeance One. Missiles, energy, beams, and high-frequency torpedoes locked onto its hull. Then Admiral Julo gave the order. Fire. A storm of light screamed through the vacuum plasma bolts. Radiation bombs, gravity slams. The sky lit up like a supernova. Space itself seemed to shake under the assault, and then, silence. The ships paused. Every camera, every scan locked on the human vessel. The smoke cleared. The Vengeance One still floated there. Not a scratch. No damage, no dents, no sign that it had even felt the attack. Inside Admiral Julo's command deck, everyone froze. That's impossible, Zahn whispered. Julo's hands trembled. Scan it again. The scan came back. Armor, 100%. Shields, not detected. Energy field, unknown. Damage received, 0%. The entire fleet had just fired enough power to destroy a starport, and it had done nothing. Then something changed. The front section of the Vengeance One began to open. Metal plates folded back, revealing a deep circular structure, lined with ancient Earth tech combined with something alien. Energy pulsed within like a beating heart. A single beam of soft blue light shone from the center. Not a weapon, a message. It flashed across all languages at once. This was your choice. And then, the Vengeance One moved. No engines flared, no fuel burned, not fuel burned. It simply shifted, jumping through space in an instant. One moment it was there, then it was behind the fleet, facing their rear. All ships scrambled to turn, but the Terran ship had already locked on. A low hum filled the channels. Suddenly, one of the lead cruiser's Yuvan-class spear cracked in half. No explosion, just clean disassembly, like it had been sliced by light. No one saw the weapon. There was no projectile, only results. Another ship vanished from scans. Not destroyed, just gone. Panic spread. Fall back, regroup, Julo shouted, but it was too late. The Vengeance One began to move again, not attacking, not chasing, just drifting past them, letting them live for now. On Velmora Prime, the Council watched in silent horror. They had seen the battlefield. They had seen their strongest fleets made helpless. High Lord Revax crushed his staff in rage. Why didn't it destroy them all? What is it doing? Grand Seer Olvi had tears in her eyes. It's not here to conquer. It's making a point. And what point is that? That it doesn't have to fight. Silence. Then the Council received a transmission encrypted in an ancient human code, one they hadn't seen in 300 years. They cracked it. It was simple. Truth is stronger than memory. You erased us. We survived. We returned not to rule, but to remind. Meanwhile, inside the Vengeance One, Captain Darnell Reeves stood in the command chamber. He was no longer the man he had once been. His body had aged only 2 years in stasis, but his mind had lived through simulated centuries, linked directly to the ship's AI. He had watched Earth die. He had listened to its final transmissions over and over, and he had waited for this moment. Status, he asked. The ship answered in a calm voice, old and warm. Enemy fleets have disengaged. Threat level minimal. Damage none. Protocol, V remains dormant. Keep it that way, Reeves said. Proceed with mission. He nodded. Let's find the records. Let the galaxy see what they buried. The Vengeance One moved toward the memory station. It didn't fire, didn't threaten, just arrived. The station, under Council control, opened fire immediately. A swarm of pulse mines and automated turrets lit the air. The ship didn't dodge at it, walked through the fire like it wasn't there. Once inside range, it sent out a pulse disabling every system in the station. And then, a harpoon-like cable extended from its side, pierced the outer hull and began to download data directly. Inside the station, terrified staff hid as the war's VIBRATED. The message was sent to all connected star systems. Thousands of old images, footage from Earth's final hours. Council ships poisoning oceans. NANITEs, attacking cities, children running under red skies, the purge. The betrayal, all of it, released, broadcast. Across the stars, the lie was shattered. On colonies far from Council control, people watched in silence. Some cried, some got angry, others raised flags ancient, flags from Earth's forgotten past, from the shattered remains of human settlers who had escaped the purge and blended into the galaxy, came a single, united phrase, "We are still here." The Council knew, things had changed. They no longer controlled the story, they no longer held the truth. The human battleship hadn't come to fight, it had come to remind them what they did, and to show them if one ship could do this, what would happen if more followed. Admiral Julo stood in his command center, staring at the still glowing screens. He couldn't sleep, he couldn't stop hearing that voice. "You started this," he whispered back. "What are you going to do next?" The stars didn't answer, but in the cold void of space, the Vengeance One turned slowly its sensors, locking on something far beyond the current systems. A hidden signal had been found. Another Terran object, buried in deep space. Sleeping. Waiting. Captain Reeves smiled without joy. "It's time," he said. "Let's wake it up." The boarding team was chosen carefully. 6 of the most elite infiltration specialists in the galaxy, genetically enhanced, trained for zero-gravity warfare, masters of stealth, language, and tech override. Their mission was simple: get inside the human ship, find out what it is, disable it, if possible. They wore cloaking suits and phased in using a quantum tether launcher, firing their entry capsule from behind a moon, outside the battleship's detection zone, or at least, that's what they thought. As the capsule attached to the side of the Vengeance One, the soldiers emerged with precision. No alarms, no countermeasures. It was like the ship wanted them to come in. The lead infiltrator, a Tazaric of the Mylar species, touched the hull. It was warm. "That's not metal," he whispered over comms. "This ship, it's breathing." He placed a pulse scanner against the outer layer. It showed slow rhythmic vibrations like a living thing. Not quite machine, not quite flesh. "Stay sharp," he said. "Weapons on low charge. If it has internal defenses, we're dead." They entered through a ventilation shaft. The inside was pitch black. No lights, no AI voice, no automated greeting. Only silence, and the feeling that they were being watched. The corridors were wide, almost cathedral-like. Walls shimmered with black plating, some of it pulsing faintly with energy. Thin red veins ran through the metal, carrying light like blood. One of the soldiers, Mexon, touched a panel. It lit up instantly, showing old Earth script mixed with alien code. "What's that?" she asked. "Tazrik. Zoomed in. "It's Tyran, but it's fused with Zarkai interface logic." "Impossible," another whispered. "Zarkai tech is only shared with Council Command. Looks like the humans got it a long time ago." A sharp buzz rang through the air. That they froze. Then a voice. Soft, cold, male. "I see you." The team dropped to cover, weapons ready, but no attack came. Just the voice again. "You shouldn't be here." The infiltrators pressed on. They reached a chamber that opened into a massive circular room. At the center hovered a glowing memory core, human in design, active. Tazrik moved toward it. As he touched the sphere, a burst of light engulfed him. He fell to his knees, gasping. The team surrounded him, weapons raised, but Tazrik's eyes had gone white. He wasn't in the room anymore, he was somewhere else. He stood in a simulation of Earth, but it was dying, skies red, ash falling, cities burning, council ships flew above, bombing, poisoning, releasing clouds of humans screamed below, running, hiding, falling. He saw children crying in bunkers, soldiers standing with rifles fighting ships from species he recognized from the Council, Talari, Yaveh and Mylar. And then he saw the Vengeance One, half-built, deep underground, hidden from the satellites. Humans knew this was coming, and they had prepared a final act of defiance. A memory ship, not for war, for witness. Then the vision ended. Tazrik collapsed. The others pulled him back. His voice shook. They didn't die from war. We killed them. All of us. No one spoke. They now knew. This ship was not a weapon. It was a grave. A grave filled with rage. They moved deeper. And that's when they saw them. Humans. Sens standing inside transparent pods. Men, women, children, even soldiers in old Terran uniforms. Eyes closed. Breathing. Alive. Meks in gasped. This shouldn't be possible. Humans are extinct. No, Tazrik whispered. They went silent, but some were preserved. One of the pods opened. A man stepped out, tall, muscular, with a long scar across his neck. He looked at them, calmly. No anger, no surprise. "Welcome aboard," he said. "Who are you?" Tazrik demanded. The man smiled. "I'm Second Officer Rhea Marcus, Terran Star Navy, and you're standing inside Earth's last will." The soldiers didn't know what to do. Their orders were to disable the ship, but now they were standing inside. History itself. One of the team raised her weapon. "Stay back." Marcus didn't flinch. "You're standing in a living ship. One that remembers. One that chooses. If you fire that, it'll erase you." The weapon's charge suddenly dropped to 0. Her suit shut down. The ship had drained her tech in seconds. She collapsed, unconscious. Marcus walked forward and looked at the others. "You think this is war," he said. "But you haven't seen war." He placed a hand on a nearby console. The room changed. The walls projected images, hundreds of them. Earth cities. Council leaders shaking hands. Secret deals. And then betrayal. Council ships launching silent attacks. Nanite clouds deployed. Assassinations. "You erased our name, our memory, our children," Marcus said. "And now, the ship has one mission left." "What is it?" Tazrik asked. Marcus looked straight at him. "To remind the galaxy of what you tried to bury." The infiltrators were allowed to leave. The Vengeance One released them gently, escorted their pod back into space. No harm done, except to their souls. They returned to the fleet, silent, shaken, changed, on Velmora Prime. The Council heard the report, and panic began to spread. If humans were still alive, if they had this technology, what else had survived? What if colonies had formed? What if Earth wasn't as dead as they thought? One council member stood and said, "We must destroy the ship before more awaken." But Grand Seer Olvi shook her head. "No," she said. "It's too late. The galaxy has already seen the truth. And now, the real storm is coming." Back aboard the Vengeance One, Captain Darnell Reeve looked at the navigation map. Another Terran signal had been located deep in an asteroid field near the collapsed Novian belt. He pressed a button, waked the next sleeper. And deep inside the ship, more pods began to hiss open. More humans. More memories. The galaxy thought it had ended them. But the galaxy was wrong. The Vengeance One moved through space like a shadow, and behind it, the silence of a buried past had turned into the roar of truth. High above the spinning towers of Velmora Prime, the Galactic Council sat in a closed session. Every member wore a face of stone, but inside they were cracking. The truth had gotten out. The Vengeance One's transmissions had spread across all star systems. Colonies were talking, neutral planets were demanding answers. Some of the older species already remembered whispers of humans who once helped cure plagues, build cities, win wars. Now the council feared the most dangerous question of all: what else do people remember? Inside the Hall of Memory, ancient archives sealed for centuries remained hidden behind layers of encryption. Only 5 beings in the entire galaxy held the clearance to access them, and one of them, Grand Seer Olvi, had just broken silence. "I've seen enough," she said. "We lied, we erased, but now, the truth demands light." High Lord Revax of the Talari slammed his claw against the table. "Don't be foolish. The humans brought chaos, war, they built weapons they couldn't control. They would have destroyed us all." Olvi's voice didn't rise. "It didn't need to. No, Revax, they built things you couldn't control. That's why you feared them." The memory vault opened. A small orb floated above the center of the chamber. Glowing blue, ancient dot, it held the unedited record of Earth's final century. The counselors watched in silence as images appeared. Terran engineers building Dyson rings to power border colonies. Human medical teams stabilizing infected. Planets during the Scorvian plague. Peace talks between humans and the Coloran after the Battle of Cryas 9. And then, the turning point. A date. 3197 Galactic Standard, a secret treaty, signed in shadows, between 6 major council species. The goal: containment of human expansion. The Terrans had become too fast, too smart. Their genetic enhancements were evolving, beyond prediction. Their AI systems were growing close to sentience, and worst of all, humans had no limits. Where other species moved cautiously, humans jumped headfirst into the unknown. They built black hole research stations, tested time-bending tech, experimented with artificial wormholes. It wasn't evil, it was terrifying because it worked, and the galaxy couldn't keep up. So the council made a plan, a slow, silent purge. Orbital, nanites released into Earth's upper atmosphere over years, not days. Disruptor fields placed in Earth's satellite grid to block interstellar transmissions. Diplomatic isolation campaigns on all trade routes, painting humans as unstable. Targeted strikes on outer colonies disguised as pirate raids. And then, Earth went dark. No rescue, no answer, no warning. The humans were cut off, their names slowly erased from records, their achievements rewritten or buried, their people forgotten. The council members watched the final scene. Earth's sky turning red as the orbital nanites bloomed. Cities losing power. A woman holding her child as darkness fell. The screen went black. No one spoke for a full minute. Then Seer Olvi looked around the chamber. "Now the vengeance one carries this truth, and it's not the only one. That ship was designed to survive your purge. It was built in the last days, under the surface, by people who knew what was coming." Revax's voice was low. "You speak like you pitied them." Olvi didn't blink. "No, I admire them." Far away, on the edge of the Novian belt, the vengeance one continued its journey. Inside the command core, Captain Darnell Reeve stood before a growing map of ancient human colonies many believed lost. Some of them had gone dark centuries ago. Others had been quiet ever since the Council's purge. But now, signals were returning. One by one. Reeve looked tired, not old, just heavy with the weight of memory. Beside him stood Marcus, the officer who had greeted the infiltrators. Marcus looked at the blinking dots across the screen. "They're waking up, sir. Some slow, some scared, but they're there." Reeve nodded. "They'll remember what happened, and when they do, the galaxy will need to choose." Meanwhile, a secret meeting was held on the moons of VRAXAL-9. Not all species in the council agreed with the old purge. Some had objected even back then. Some now saw the rise of human survivors, not as a threat but a correction. Among them was the Lycery envoy, glass-skinned beings with memory-linked minds. Their leader, Kion, addressed the hidden gathering. "We watched the council betray them," he said. "And now, we watch the council panic. Perhaps it is not the humans who should be erased, but the ones who feared them." Others agreed, some offered aid. Quietly, ships began to move. Resources were redirected. Old human colonies, long thought empty, received new signals. "You are not alone." Back on Velmora Prime, panic turned to planning. The council drafted Directive Black Rainer Kill Order. Not on the humans. On the idea of humans. Destroy all known human archives. Seize colonies where survivors had integrated. Capture or kill anyone speaking of Earth. But it was too late. The truth was alive, and it was moving. Inside the Vengeance One, another stasis pod opened. A woman stepped out, tall, lean, with dark eyes and a voice that carried command. Reeve smiled as she approached. "Captain Aaron Holt," he said. "Welcome back." She looked around. How long was I under? 302 years. She blinked once. No shock, just silence. Earth gone. Council, still lying. She looked at the screen, saw the map, saw the list of signals now blinking green. How many ships survived? Reeve hesitated. Not sure, but we weren't the only ones hidden. Her voice grew cold. Then let's find the others. As the Vengeance One prepared its next jump, a final encrypted message was received. A fragment. Not from Earth, but from a ship-class command. Vessel once believed destroyed during the final day of the solar purge. The message was short, just 3 words. We are awake. Reeve stared at it. A small smile touched the corner of his lips. The ghosts are rising, he whispered. And somewhere in the dark, the galaxy began to tremble. A cold silence covered the bridge of the Vengeance One. The ship floated in deep space near the edge of the Galactic rift. Waiting. In front of the crew stood a sealed pod-frosted glass hiding a man inside. Connected to ancient life support tubes. And pulsing by monitors, his name had been carved into the metal base in English. Captain Darnell Reeve, Tehran Star Navy Code, PHOENIX01. Except this was not the same Darnell Reeve who had already awoken and taken command. This was the original. The man inside had never stepped out of the pod since Earth fell. The current Reeve, the one on the bridge, stood silent. He looked like the man in the pod, but he wasn't him, not exactly. Second Officer Marcus watched his captain's face. You sure you're ready? He asked. Reeve nodded slowly. The AI was based on his brain, his memories, his leadership instincts, but now that we've unlocked the original, we need to hear what he remembers. He walked forward and pressed his hand against the control pad. The pod hissed. The ice melted. Gas escaped with a sharp gasp. Then the man inside opened his eyes. He looked around. He saw the ceiling of a ship he helped design, one that should never have flown. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Did Earth make it?" Reeve looked down, slowly shook his head. "No, Earth is gone." The man inside closed his eyes, not in pain, but in knowing. "I thought so." They brought him to the bridge. Captain Darnell Reeve, the original, stood for the first time in 3 centuries. His muscles were weaker, but his voice, his presence was still commanding. The crew stared in silence. It was like watching a ghost return to flesh. He turned to Reeve, AI-born version, who had guided the ship since its reawakening. "You're me," he said. "I was made from you." The other Reeve replied, "A backup, a protector, but you're the real one." The original Reeve gave a small, tired smile. "Then I suppose I better say something worth remembering." They activated the long-range transmission deck. The ship's antenna aligned to 1,000 channels. Then the voice of the last original human war captain rang out across the galaxy. It reached deep space colonies, border outposts, even council worlds. Everyone stopped to listen. "This is Captain Darnell Reeve of the Tehran Star Navy. If you're hearing this, you've been lied to. Earth is gone, but not by war, not by mistake. It was taken from us, erased. We were betrayed by the same council that claims to protect you today." He paused, let the silence soak in. Then he continued, "I am not here to bring war, but I will not let our name vanish quietly. You erased our records, but you didn't erase our will." He looked into the camera, straight, unblinking. "I survived. So did others. And now we remember everything." The message spread fast. Faster than any ship, faster than any missile. It reached planets where Terran descendants lived in hiding. It reached outlaw systems ruled by no council. It reached students, traders, refugees, everyone who had ever asked, what happened to Earth? And one by one, answers began to form. Small rebellions sparked. Ancient Earth flags rose again in ships, on walls, even in code. The message had done something the Council feared most. It made people believe. Back on Velmora Prime, panic reigned. High. Lord Revax threw a monitor across the chamber. "Shut it down. Block the frequencies. Jam every damn relay." "It's too late," said Grand Seer Olvi calmly. "The voice has reached them. You can't kill a voice that's already been heard." "But we can kill the man," Revax growled. A bounty was issued. 1 trillion council credits for Captain Darnell. Revel, live or dead. Assassins were hired. A mercenary fleeter, infamous Shadowjaw Syndicate, accepted the contract. Their plan was simple. Intercept the Vengeance One at the Gralvek. Rift used stealth ships to board, eliminate Reeve. But they didn't know that Reeve was no longer alone. Other Terran ships had started to arrive, small ones, scout class, even a few heavy cruisers. They had seen the message, and they had come from forgotten systems, from deep bunkers, from the shadows of dead stars. The Terran flag rose again, and with it a warning. "We will not strike first. but we will not fall twice. The Shadow Jaw fleet jumped into the rift, 50 ships. Advanced tech, cloaked weaponry that they surrounded the Vengeance One. They opened fire, and for the second time, it didn't flinch. Instead, the Vengeance One responded with intelligence. It didn't use brute force. It hacked. It reprogrammed enemy targeting systems, turning ships against each other. It disabled engines with micro-pulses. It shut down oxygen feeds, forcing evacuations. Within minutes, half the fleet was drifting. The rest fled. No kill shots. No overkill. Just one message, broadcast in all directions. We remember mercy, too. On the bridge, the original Reeve sat in silence. He didn't cheer, didn't smile. He watched space calm again. And then, he turned to the AI Reeve. I may be awake, but this ship, it belongs to you now. The AI hesitated. You're the captain. No, the real Reeve said. I'm the past. You are what came after. A part of me, maybe, but smarter, more focused. I was built for war. You were built for survival. The two shook hands. One man, two timelines. United. Now they had the truth. Now they had the truth. Had the message. And now, they had the galaxy's attention. But attention came with danger. And in the Council's hidden chambers, something even darker was being prepared. A weapon, not to kill ships. But to erase minds. To rewrite history again. But this time they were too late, because one voice had spoken. One survivor had remembered. And now everyone was listening. The planet Kedra, the seventh, was burning. Once a peaceful trade colony, Kedra had no warships, no armies, just farming domes, wind cities, and schools for younglings of many species. It had been loyal to the Council for over 100 years, but today, it was being punished by the same Council it served. Dozens of heavy ships descended into its orbit, launching firestorms into population zones. Shockwaves ripped across its oceans. Communications were jammed. Emergency beacons were silenced. Why? Because Kedra's people had played Reeve's broadcast, because they had dared to remember humans. Inside a medical tower on Kedra's surface, a teacher named Tassa Mel huddled in the basement with children above them. The ground shook. She held a tiny child close, trying to stay calm. Why are they doing this? The girl asked. Tarsa didn't answer. She didn't know how. The world outside screamed with flame. And no help was coming. Or so they thought. Far beyond Kedra's orbit, the Vengeance One picked up a faint distress echo. It was scrambled, weak, nearly gone, but the word was clear. Help. Kedra Reeve stood on the bridge, staring at the hologram of the burning world. No fleets nearby, Marcus said. No friendly systems within 6 jumps. The Council's blocking all channels. They want to make an example, Ehrenholt added. Reeve looked at her, then at the crew. We're not here to start wars, he said. But we don't watch children burn. He turned to the console. Prep the drop pods, all of them. The Vengeance One moved through Council territory at impossible speed. Its quantum slip drive, bursting through jamming fields like they weren't there. It arrived above Kedra like a ghost in the night. Council destroyers spotted it immediately, opened fire. Dozens of plasma lancers raced toward the Vengeance. One and missed. The ship moved not by engines, but by intention, that glided through space like it knew where each shot would land. It didn't fire back. Instead, it opened its underbelly and dropped salvation. 40 high-speed Terran drop pods streaked through the burning skies of Kedra. Each one carried rescue teams, medics, exosuits, food supplies, and atmospheric shields. They landed in seconds, burst open, and went to work. Inside the burning school tower, Tassa watched as the walls began to collapse. She held the children close. I'm sorry, she whispered. And then the wall exploded outward. But it wasn't fire, it was light. A tall, dark figure stepped in, wearing black armor with glowing blue lines. Human tech. Terran. He spoke with a voice full of calm command. Get behind me. Tassa stared. Who are you? The man turned slightly, his helmet folding back. I'm from the ship, he said. We came to help. Across Kedra, the same scene repeated. Pods opening. Children pulled from rubble. Domes sealed. Council drones hacked. Terran medics reprogramming biofields and turning planetary defenses back on. It wasn't a battle, it was a rescue. But the Council couldn't allow that. They ordered the Expector-class dreadnought Bladderspire into orbit, a ship that had cracked moons, a ship that had ended rebellions. As the Vengeance One rose to meet the Bladderspire, the stars grew quiet. The enemy ship was 3 times larger, loaded with heavy torpedoes and plasma rings. The Council commander sent a final warning. This is Council authority. Leave now or be erased. Reeves sent no reply. Instead, he opened a secure channel directly to the Bladderspire's bridge. What he said shocked them. This is not your war. You were told we were monsters. But you know what's down there. Children, civilians. You fire on this ship, and your crew will know you chose genocide. Silence, then one by one. The weapons of the Bladderspire went dark. The dreadnought didn't retreat, but it didn't fire, and Reeve didn't destroy it. He just turned back toward Kedra, and kept saving lives. When the last evac pod returned, when the last fire was put out, when the skies were clear again, Tarsa Mel stood on the hill and watched the Terran ship rise like a silent guardian. Children waved. Some cried. One of them saluted, mimicking an old Earth gesture he had seen on a broken screen, and the Vengeance One disappeared into the stars. Across the galaxy, the story spread. Not just a ship that remembered war, but a ship that protected. A ship that stood against fire, not with more fire, but with honor. Back on Velmora Prime, High Lord Revac shouted into the council chambers. They're turning humans into heroes. They're not, said Olvi. They don't need to. The council is turning itself into the villain. A younger councillor, barely a century old, stood and asked, why are we attacking people who save children? No one had an answer. Even Rev Vax. In the dark corridors of the Outer Rim, rebel cells lit candles beneath old Terran symbols. On mining worlds, workers painted stars and stripes beside the words, "We remember Earth." And in deep space stations, once silent, old Terran ships began to wake. Quietly, slowly, with power. Because now, they had hope. On the bridge of the Vengeance One, Reeves stood beside Aaron Holt. That he watched the stars spin. Kedra survived. She said. He nodded. But what about the next planet? Reeves' eyes narrowed. We'll be there too. He placed a hand on the map. Not to rule, not to conquer, but to remind the galaxy that humans were never erased. Just waiting. In the heart of the Velmora core, deep beneath the council capital, a hidden facility pulsed with dark energy. Only the High Lords and ancient architects knew it existed. Even most council members had forgotten its name. Project Ash Glass. It was never meant to be used, only built just in case the humans ever returned. Now, with the Vengeance One saving planets and sparking rebellion across systems, the just-in-case had arrived. High Lord Revac stood before the final control chamber. His eyes burned with fear disguised as rage. They're not just surviving, he hissed. They're winning hearts. Beside him, the lead architect half-machine, half-sea responded coldly. Then it's time we erased hearts too. The chamber opened. Inside floated a sphere of dark crystal, pulsing like a dying star. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It didn't fire missiles or plasma. It erased memory. A frequency weapon called Wisp. One blast, and every organic mind within its range would forget what it had seen, who it had trusted, what had once inspired it. They wouldn't know. Earth wouldn't know truth, wouldn't remember Reeve. Only the lies would remain. The Council sent a stealth fleet to carry it. 10 ships, shielded, cloaked, fast. Their target, a central rebel hub. Juno's Rechan, old trade station, now filled with scientists, exiles, and Terran descendants rallying under the Vengeance One's message. If Juno fell silent, the rebellion would lose its voice, and no one would even remember why. But someone was watching. Deep within the Vengeance One, a low-frequency alert triggered. The ship's AI merged with human instincts, caught the pulse, unknown signal. It whispered, Captain Reeve, now fully in sync with his vessel, listened carefully. It's a pattern, Aaron Holt said beside him. Too clean to be natural. Too dirty to be tech. Marcus leaned forward. Could be Council deep code. We've seen it before. Psychological class. Reeve stared at the scan. No, he said. This isn't psychological, it's surgical. The Vengeance One didn't wait. It didn't ask permission. It jumped through 3 wormhole scars and 1 collapsing gravity corridor. It cut through space like it was pulling the stars apart. It arrived at Juno's reach moments before the Whisperfall fleet. Too late to stop them from powering up, but just in time to fight. The station's people looked up as space rippled. Vengeance One arrived like thunder without sound. Its sleek hull shimmered with quantum armor. Its systems flared with blue and white. It didn't speak. It just moved. Straight at the enemy. The Council fleet responded. They launched shielding rings around the Whisperfall core, fired decoy jammers, fired weapons. None of it mattered, because the Vengeance One wasn't aiming at the ships, it was aiming at the signal. Reeve ordered the ship to focus all energy on a single quantum burster, precision spike designed to collapse the frequency web of Whisperfall before it could fire. The moment was tight. 1 second too slow, and every mind on Juno's reach would forget. Earth. Would forget hope. The battle began. The Vengeance 1 dove through torpedo storms, spinning between laser nets. It moved like it was alive, and it was. Inside, the AI worked in perfect sync with its human crew. Reeves' thoughts became orders. Erin's instinct became navigation. Marcus rerouted power from old stasis pods, waking ancient memory nodes never meant to open. One of them whispered, "Remember Mars." Another said, "Tell them we lived." Power surged. The burst launched. For one moment, space cracked. Not with sound, but with memory. The pulse tore through the Council fleet's interference net, shattered the Whisperfall core's amplifier, and collapsed the entire weapons field. One of the Council ships simply froze. Another's crew began to cry, because they remembered what they'd done, because the memory of the Terran purge-buried deep had returned. Inside Juno's reach, scientists stared at the stars. They had seen nothing, but they felt something, a shiver, a sudden, deep knowing. Then, the Vengeance 1 hailed the station. Reeves' face appeared, and this time he didn't speak like a commander, he spoke like a man. "They tried to take your memory, but we gave ours to stop them. You are not alone. And you never were." On Council worlds, the story could no longer be stopped. Rebellion wasn't just political now, it was emotional. A memory shared is harder to kill than a fleet. Now billions remembered the old human songs, the stories, the flags, the final stand, the voice, and the ship that would not die on Velmora Prime. Revac screamed. He smashed monitors. Tore down maps, but nothing could erase what had returned. Whisperfall had failed. Earth had spoken again, and this time the galaxy had listened. Back aboard the Vengeance 1, the crew sat in silence, not because they had won, but because they had survived again, barely. Erin turned to Reeve. "Do you think they'll stop now?" Reeve shook his head. "No, they'll bring their worst next. Not lies, not memory tricks, real weapons, old ones, ones we haven't seen." "What do we do?" she asked. He looked out at the stars. "We go to the place they fear most." Erin paused. "You mean yes," Reeve said. "We go to Earth." The stars grew darker near the Sol system, not from distance or time, but from what had been buried there, centuries ago. Earth was erased, bombed with nanas, cut off from trade, its orbit filled with silent wreckage. No one had returned since, because the Council made sure no one could. They placed memory mines across the system, devices that corrupted navigation, jammed drives, scrambled thoughts. Pilots who got too close forgot why they came, and those who pushed harder never came back at all. But now, the Vengeance 1 had arrived, and this time, Earth would be seen again. Captain Reeves stood on the bridge, silent. Erin, Holt, Marcus, and the others looked at the scan. The system was dead. Marza, barren, Echo. Luna cracked in half. Saturn's rings shattered, but Earth still turned. Cloud-covered. Green and blue beneath ash. Not lifeless. Not forgotten. Just waiting. The Council had one last defense, a kill fleet, hidden in Neptune's shadow. Massive dreadnoughts, old tech, but powerful, set to activate the moment any unauthorized ship entered Sol. And the Vengeance 1 just lit every alarm. They came fast. 50 ships. Deadly. Automatic. And soulless. Reeve didn't flinch. He didn't run. He reached for the comps, and for the first time, he opened every frequency. All of them, to the whole galaxy. "This is Captain Darnell Reeve. We have reached Earth. If you hear this message, remember this. We were erased, but we were never broken. They called us dangerous, but we never started the war, we only survived it. Now we return not to fight, but to remind you what truth looks like." He paused and then said the words that echoed across space. "We are human, and we are still here." The kill fleet locked weapons, but before they fired, they hesitated, because their crews were not machines, and many had seen the broadcasts, had felt the memories Whisperfall failed to erase. One by one, ships began powering down. Some turned away, others dropped weapons, a few even hailed the Vengeance 1 in silence, sending only coordinates of survivor caches hidden long ago. Reeves stared in disbelief. Earth had allies still, even here. The Vengeance 1 descended through atmosphere. It cracked through storm clouds, past burning satellites, flew above the ruins of old cities: New York, Cairo, Shanghai, Lagos. Nature had taken back the world, but the bones of humanity still stood. Statues, collapsed buildings, a burnt flag still wrapped around a broken monument. Erin whispered, "I never thought we'd make it." Reeve nodded. "We didn't. They did." The ship landed where it all ended, Old Geneva. where the last message was sent during the purge. Now, the team walked on Earth's soil again, dusty, rough, sacred, that placed a small device on the ground. A broadcast spike. It activated and connected to every system still listening. Planets, stations, ships, even council worlds. What followed was not war, it was the final truth. What footage, real footage, unedited, people running from orbital fire, children in bunkers, doctors refusing to abandon their patients, soldiers helping aliens escape even as Earth fell, and the final moments, humans building hidden ships, stasis pods, uploading memory cores, preparing for a time when the truth would matter again. That time was now, across the galaxy. People wept, others screamed, some shouted in rage, not at humans, but at the council. On colonies from Varnies to Ala, crowds marched, council statues burned. New banners rose. Terran. Unified. Remembered. Back on Velmora Prime, Sia Olvi watched the last message with quiet tears. She stood in the council chamber one final time. Your lies are over, she said to Revax. He spat. So what now? You want humans to rule? She turned to him. No, they don't want to rule. That's why they scare you. Then she left. And behind her the chamber doors shut for the last time in orbit above Earth. The Vengeance One powered down its weapons. For the first time in centuries, the ship rested. Reeves stood at the window, eyes on the blue planet. We finished the message, he said. Aaron looked at him. And now, Reeves smiled, we rebuild. Final scene. Children on distant worlds learn Terran history again. A school on Kedra paints Earth's sky on its walls. A rebel fleet changes its name to the Memory Armada, and somewhere, another hidden Terran ship awakens in deep space. Old AI, whispering, signal confirmed. Earth lives, mission continues. The screen fades. 3 words remain. We are human.